Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another monthly meeting of the Cannabis Association of New Mexico. For those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Matt Kennicott. I'm the Executive Director and Co-founder. Welcome to our meeting. For those of you joining us live, we've got live chat going, so make sure you get your questions ready. We will be addressing those throughout the show, so please ask away if there's anything that you're curious about, or if you have other information to add. We're going to start with some housekeeping here, since it's been a month since we've met. But we've done 2 town halls since the last time we had one of our live stream. Last one was down in Sunland Park a couple of weeks ago. It was a great town hall, really good turnout, and amazing input. What we're doing is taking input and just listening to the industry all across the state. What are things that you're seeing with inspections? What are things in the law and the rules that are working, that aren't working? What do you want to see changed? And really just what you're experiencing as cannabis operators and people who work in the cannabis industry. So keep an eye out. We're working on getting to Tucumcari by the end of this month for another town hall. And then on September 18th, probably September 18th, we'll be up in Farmington hosting a town hall up there. So we're going to continue these town halls throughout the rest of the year and keep traveling the state, coming to you wherever you are. We promised when we founded this organization that we'd get out and visit people where they live and where they work, and we're going to keep doing that. So stay tuned for a town hall near you. Some of the work that we've been doing is starting to pay off. You may have seen last week an announcement, or 2 weeks ago now, an announcement on water hauling for micro businesses, for micro producers. There's a lot of renewals coming up for micro growers right now, and what we were able to do is secure an agreement with the Office of the State Engineer, the OSC, allowing for water hauling for micro producers. What had happened before is last year OSC started to take that ability away. And that included everybody from micros all the way up to the largest license holders. Big shout out to Bob Boylan with the Growers Breakfast Club and Roadrunner Cannabis up in Estancia. Him and I sat down with the OSC folks back in February during the legislative session, and since then had been working with them to come to an agreement. Now, OSC doesn't have anything in writing for us yet, but in direct conversations with their general counsel, he did say if you are a micro and you're running into any issues with water hauling, to work with your district office. Also, I will offer, if you do run into any issues, go ahead and contact me and we'll get in touch with the Office of the State Engineer. Any questions on that, please let us know. Not only that, but our policy committee has been hard at work. That's made up of our silver and gold members in the organization, and what we're doing is sitting and talking about the issues most important to operators across the state. If you are a silver or a gold member and you want to sit on the policy committee but are not on the committee yet, please contact me. We still have space and we still have time. We're working on the agenda for the upcoming legislative session in January, and we're talking about issues all the way from pre-inspections before opening, all the way to what we can do with different types of licenses, and really what happens with rescheduling and how we bifurcate our licenses in New Mexico, because we only have one category of medical license. So we're working out all those policy issues right now. Excise tax is definitely at the top of those issues, and we're getting close on a draft bill for that. So we're working through all those things. Again, if you're a silver or gold member and would like to participate and be a part of that committee, please hit me up and we'll get you set up. And then finally, for housekeeping, it's been a long time coming, really since February when we came up with this idea, but Safe Cannabis New Mexico will be rolling out by the end of the month. That's our campaign for keeping children safe, basically. It's our Safe Storage of Cannabis campaign. That came out of us defeating House Bill 294 during the legislative session, which would have required us to go to entirely black and white packaging. and we all know that doesn't really work for us. So keep an eye out. Safe Cannabis New Mexico is rolling out by the end of the month with all of our partners. We still have a couple of partner spots left for retailers to be a part of that giveaway. If you're interested, please let me know. So we're gonna get down to business here. Why we're here tonight. I've got a very special guest with us, Bobbi Martinez from Cielo Alto Strategies. She worked with me at Weeds Cannabis Consulting when we were there together, and we did a lot of good work. She's doing a lot of good work now still. She's out there every day seeing what's going on in different cannabis businesses across the state and has a wealth of knowledge. Tonight, we want to talk about compliance and how you can prepare for the rollout of the new track and trace system, New Mexico Seed to Sale, or NMS2S, as we all saw on Monday. So, Bobbi, welcome to our live stream.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, you bet. Can you give a little bit of background about yourself and your business and what you do?
Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know, again, my name is Bobbi Martinez. Been in the industry for about a decade now. Worked on the ground floor in production and manufacturing. Worked my way up through management, and decided to actually get into the state as one of the state's first regulators, and then the state's compliance manager overseeing the compliance team. And then actually got recruited by Matt over here to join his consulting firm about a year in. And so I jumped ship and went to go work with Matt, and stayed there for a couple of years with Weeds Consulting. And then after having my first daughter 2 years ago, decided to part ways from Weeds and start my own consulting firm, which is Cielo Alto. So that has been what I've been doing for the last 2 years. So working with clients, big and small and everything in between, with all three different activities in terms of production, manufacturing of all types, and of course retail as well. So I feel like I have a unique perspective in terms of working within the industry, regulating the industry, and then consulting the industry.
Yes, Bobbi's got a wide and deep background in cannabis, and we're lucky to have her in New Mexico. So thanks again for being here, Bobbi. Everybody on Monday saw the bulletin that went out from CCD announcing the track and trace transition, if you will. August 25th is the deadline to make sure that we've got all of our data in line and ordered up properly. I know the labs have been ordered and directed to make sure that they're getting test results properly input into the new system. There might be some failures out there that get marked if the data is not properly transferred over. So that's something to watch out for. CCD is saying that in the new system that will be corrected, but we don't want to see corrections being made. We want to see everything being correct from the get-go. But from just your initial reactions, Bobbi, what were they when you saw that announcement come out on Monday?
I have mixed feelings about it. We all knew that this was coming, right? We knew that this was, since I was back at the state, there had been talks of, an RFP coming out, and potentially having a new traceability system. And so this has been on the horizon for quite a few years now. I just wish there was a little bit more or any communication, before just kind of making this announcement so quickly. And then everybody kind of panicked, to know what to do, how to be prepared. And so I feel for a lot of my clients and for the New Mexico licensees, but I also feel optimistic. I definitely think this is going to be a bumpy road, in the short term, but I'm hoping long term, this is going to be positive for the whole industry, including, those of us who do want to see a little bit more regulation to kind of weed out some of these bad actors. So I think a lot more regulating is going to be done behind the desk. With the ability of regulators to use the system to run reports and monitor inventory and workflows in a way that wasn't available to them through from BioTrack, Track and Trace. I can say firsthand, running those back-end reports was very difficult using traceability, and oftentimes I would have to go to BioTrack representatives themselves, even as a state employee, to request some of these reports and try to work through some of this, the inventory and information that I was looking for. So again, it's kind of a mixed reaction from me personally as a professional, but I do feel somewhat hopeful. And, after talking to some of the regulators on the ground, I've gotten, firsthand information from them that they are starting to get trained internally on the system. They've got to play around with the system. And from my understanding, they all feel very excited about this new system because of that fact that they feel that they're going to be able to use this a little bit more efficiently on their end. So hopefully that is the case, and hopefully it will be used for good and to target those bad actors rather than, just trying to throw a big net and catch people for, doing mundane things.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. Another thing that I heard was that they anticipate, and them being the inspectors, that it's going to be an all hands on deck come September, that a lot of them anticipate everybody will come back to the office and make themselves available to answer calls, emails, point people in the right direction as far as tech support, customer service, and all the resources that they have available as well. So I do think, at first I was a little bit weary, but after having some conversations with some of the team members over there, it does sound like they are getting ready for this. They do know it's going to be a monster, but I think they're as ready as they can be, just given the situation and the timeline that they were given as well from their leadership.
That makes sense, and I definitely agree with a lot that you said there, Bobbi. It's been time for a new track and trace system for New Mexico, and I also want to make clear anything that we say tonight is not necessarily directed at real time solutions, and it's not to disparage a new system. CANM especially agrees that we need a new track and trace system. We want a modern track and trace system. Where we're coming from is industry's had zero input on this thing. And this really follows a pattern of what's been happening in the state lately, especially with the cannabis industry. We're promised input, we're promised to see it at the table, but at the end of the day, something gets rolled out, and it's just been a decision made by regulators rather than something being collaborative. And really, I think there's a lot of anger and frustration and a lot of folks in the industry that are scared right now about what's going to happen to their businesses because of the rushed nature of this rollout. And number one thing is CANM has called for a pause to the rollout and will continue to do that. One of the big issues that we're facing in September is that's the start of harvest season for all of us outdoor cultivators, us being one of them. I'm not really looking forward to the potential of my data being lost about my plants right in the middle of a harvest. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And we'll get a little bit more into this as we go along, but there's a lot of questions about the API connections as well. I had a really good discussion with actually both Jacqueline and Domingo from US Eagle today. They are members of the association, so thank you guys. But they've got compliance to conduct as well, and it took them literally months to work out their integrations with GreenCheck and their APIs, and they're concerned that there's going to be a similar delay or similar time crunch. And really, on the compliance side in the banking world, those guys have to report to the feds, so they have a much higher authority than what we've got here at the state. So there's definitely those concerns. Jacqueline also wanted me to pass on for anyone on the stream, if you're a member of US Eagle and you're having issues, they're happy to work through those compliance issues with you from the banking side. Bobbi, I know you're well connected and work with the Inscribe team quite a bit. They've got folks there that literally built BioTrack.
Yep.
Are you seeing any concerns from Inscribe or other clients on the tech side that you might work with?
Yeah, absolutely. We've all, after speaking with leadership at Inscribe, they have had the same concern for months now, just knowing, the rollout of this new system. And so, luckily, we were able to get them in touch with Todd Stevens, who then is connecting them with real-time solution developers to get them connected. And so Inscribe is in the process of that. So for any clients, of Inscribe, customers of Inscribe who use the system, leadership and development teams are working to make sure that that system is fully integrated so that you all still have compliant labels. But as far as timeline, are we going to be able to make it for that first round? I know after conversations with Todd, and then, seeing the bulletin, and they are, of course, prioritizing retail and systems that integrate specifically for the front of house businesses. So POS systems specifically, and inventory management systems for that retail side of things. Everything else in terms of manufacturing and production will be phased in for third-party integrators. And so that's what I have been communicated to about third-party integrators, and how they're looking at that as far as priority goes. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I just lost my screen. You guys still there?
Yeah, we still got you, Bobbi. You're good.
So I know this is going to come in phases. But my suggestion and advice, if you have any third-party systems that you all are working with, whether they're POS systems, inventory management systems, if you have representatives who are trying to get in contact with real-time solutions, we were able to find leadership contacts available, just publicly available online. So, you guys are welcome to do Google searches, the CEO, project manager, operations. Those are all emails that are publicly available through their website. So, I would suggest reaching out to those individuals, and also reaching out to Todd Stevens and Miss Eden as well, to request, to be connected with the developers as well for the purpose of integration. So hopefully we can all, start getting integrated into the systems, or the systems that you guys are already using can be integrated. That way there is little interruption to your guys' operation that is absolutely necessary.
I don't know if you know the answer to this question or not, but I've got the same one. Great comment from Gonzo Family Farms on YouTube chat. It says, so producers and manufacturers who supply the retail go last. The people who supply the stores. It's been interesting to me that retail is going to go first when they're literally the last link in the supply chain, when producers are the first. So they're doing it in kind of a backwards order. I don't know if you can shed any light on that, but it seems like kind of an odd position to be in.
Yeah, I actually didn't necessarily agree with this take, but from what I was told was the reason why they decided to go with retail first is because they believe it gets updated so frequently through transactions that they wanted to prioritize that. They felt that because, and again, this was not something that I agreed with, but the logic is, producers, for example, will harvest a whole lot and record that data. But those are all things that could be updated, the next day or the next couple days, because it wasn't, multiple updates that needed to be updated in the system, which again, didn't make sense to me, because I thought, from my perspective, any data needed to be updated in real time and then synchronized to your systems by midnight. So again, I didn't necessarily agree with, the reasoning behind that, but that was the reasoning that I was given.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I understand the data side of things and the number of transactions and whatnot, but you're already asking or really ordering everyone to to make sure everything is updated and synced anyway prior to the data migration. So uh, I don't know, it you with how the supply chain works, you could really start from the back end and the easier side, but the decision's been made, I guess. So um, it, really, my questions more are, the speed to market is so fast on this thing. Has it
Mm-hmm.
really been tested and run through the paces that it should be? I mean, BioTrack's been around for years, and we know we all still had major issues with that, lots of
Mm-hmm.
headaches.
Yep.
And one of the things I'm really concerned about is this might not work or may break right in the middle of things. Really, harvest season for a lot of us is where we start to make most of our money for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have issues or delays, that's going to cost us business. So then what? And what the government usually does is say, "Sorry, that's just how it is."
Tough
Um,
cookies.
yeah, exactly. So, I don't want to bitch about this thing all night. We definitely want to answer questions. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
let's dive into a little bit about what we can do to prepare for the transition here. From an inventory standpoint, Bobby, all up and down the supply chain, from producers all the way up through retail. What are kind of the top 2 or 3 things that folks can do to prepare for the transition?
Mm-hmm. Well, right off the bat, the thing that was already mentioned in the bulletin, and is the most obvious thing, is inventory reconciliation. This is something that everybody should be doing on a regular basis. We know it's absolutely required for retail, but at every activity, at every facility, this is something that should be done, if not monthly, weekly. Just because inventory is getting moved and converted so often in these facilities, and bringing new products in. This is very important, especially as we get closer and approach the date for this migration. And this is also something that historically, from the time I was at CCD to up till today, when I started, when I was talking to some inspectors, and I have been, touching base with them as some of my clients are going through, their regular inspections. Inspectors are still seeing that businesses' third-party systems are not fully integrating into
Mm-hmm.
their traceability systems. So, this is a problem whether you're using Dutchie or Kova or Blaze. It's gotten a little bit better, I will say, over the last couple of years, but still to this day, it's something that uh, regulators are seeing, and I'm also seeing on my end when I'm going to do internal audits for my clients. So oftentimes I'll go in and I go deeper, than your general CCD inspection.
Yeah.
I'm asking questions. Not only are you doing physical counts and adjusting, reconciling your inventory through your third-party system, but then how do you reconcile your traceability? Who is going in there and verifying that your POS system inventory is matching your traceability? And I swear 9 out of 10 times, people, or managers, business owners, operators are surprised that I even asked this, because they don't even look at their traceability. Everything that
Right.
they do is done through their third-party systems. And I can understand why. Traceability is kind of clunky. You're already paying for this system that says or guarantees that the inventory is being, pushed to BioTrack. So they feel confident enough that they don't actually have to go back. But what we're seeing time and time again, anytime BioTrack makes an update or, your third-party system makes an update, those connections tend to get wonky, and sometimes data is not accurately pushed. And so you really, I think everybody really needs to designate somebody for every location who is responsible for that inventory reconciliation, and making it part of that procedure that they are going, as a final step, logging into traceability and actually making sure that all of those changes that were made are actually getting synced, and then doing that synchronization every single day at the same time, no matter what. I know for some of my larger clients, we had gone directly to, or their team, I should say, has gone directly to BioTrack representatives to automate that synchronization, just because they had so much inventory that it was taking hours and hours to get that synchronized. And so if that's something that you guys are having trouble with in terms of manually doing it, after we get over this hump of, migrating, that might be something, reaching out to Real-Time Solution to see if, we can automate that. But if not, manually do it, periodically check, and make it a part of your procedure to make sure, that your third-party system is pushing that data. Do not trust the third-party system, no matter how much they say, they've done their testing and yada, yada, yada. Always double check, because at the end of the day, it's your guys' name, it's your license, and inventory management, not only for state compliance, but also just ensuring you guys know where your inventory is super, super important for risk management and loss.
I'm going to backstop you there too, Bobbi, because everybody needs to remember that BioTrack, or whatever the track and trace system is the one source of truth as far as your inventory goes. So your Dutchie or your Kova or whatever could say one thing, and I've seen this too on audits. Their BioTrack is completely off. Maybe there's 1,500 pounds sitting in BioTrack, but the correct records are actually sitting in the POS system. So always, always, always make sure that you're logging into your track and trace and making sure that your systems are matching up. There's always issues with API connections, no matter what the program is that you're using. Real quick, Travis.
Before we, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't want to say, Travis in chat had a couple of good comments. One, is there a time frame for training documentation? The bulletin just says as soon as finalized. No, we don't have any information on that yet. And really, you'd think that would be one of the first things to roll out even before an announcement of what's happening. He also says, seems like the people expected to use the new system are not being set up with proper knowledge to succeed. And I honestly couldn't agree more. It's these things, you would think you'd have public meetings and previews and all kinds of stuff, but we really haven't seen any of that yet. So anyway, what I think I cut you off there, Bobbi. What else were you going to add?
The only other thing I was going to add is, now that we're taking a closer look at our inventory and ensuring that inventory matches both systems, if and when you do have to do these adjustments, I highly, highly suggest doing some type of internal investigation if you have large discrepancies. Because anytime you make any type of adjustment, especially if it's large, the potential for CCD to run what's called a red flag report is something that, is a risk. So when I was at CCD, we had what was called a red flag report, and there was, or red flag reports, which had various reports within kind of this bucket. And one of those reports was an adjustment report. So anytime inventory had been adjusted over 30%, CCD internally could run that report, and it would pop up with all of the licensees or locations that made those adjustments. At that point, CCD could then investigate and look into it. It wasn't something, or that I'm aware of, is something that CCD is using as a tool right now. But at any time I advise my clients, who have to make these large adjustments because inventory is so often, after doing internal investigations, they know where it went. Maybe it was destroyed at one point or miscounted or whatever it was. Just make sure that, you're doing that initial investigation so you have as much information and as the business owner or the manager or operator, where that inventory is or isn't, so that you can also document and make very, very detailed and clean notes about it, just in case there is any audits in the future and somebody shows up saying, hey, on such and such date at this location, inventory was adjusted up or down or whatever out of the system. You can go back and say, oh yeah, I actually remember that. It was because X, Y, and Z. Here's the camera footage. You have those notes and you have the receipts to kind of back you up, so you don't get into something where you're having to prove your innocence, and dig through all those records and files.
Always bring the receipts. It's good to have paper backups of stuff if you can. That's definitely a good heads up, I think. Gonzo Family Farms has this question, and I've been asked it several times. It's regarding testing, and that is in the new system for final product conversion. If you have a liter of oil already tested, you convert it to a vape or gummies, that test won't follow. So we all know that final product testing was coming sooner or later, and I think this is the ultimate enforcement of it. That being said, I do still think there needs to be leeway to be able to transfer untested products, like from grow facility up to manufacturing facility, for example, depending on what's happening with it. Or if you are like in a retail shop and you make small batch pre-rolls, but they're already made out of tested flour, perhaps that test result should still follow. Have you seen anything on the final testing?
Nothing other than what was included in the bulletin, which was just referencing the rule that exists. But this was something, and actually, Matt, I think you and I brought this to Robbie at the time's attention to say, hey, there's a gap in what you're able to do within traceability versus what's written in rule. And it actually took them I don't even know if they fully were aware of this being a challenge or the ability not to enforce it. When you and I posed this, but essentially we were told, and then later was reiterated by new CCD attorney Eden, was that regardless of what the system allows you to do, you still need to have that finished product tested. But it did kind of pose a challenge again, because if something had already been tested, a lot of times the system, as you guys know, wouldn't allow you to then submit for additional testing. There had to be some workarounds for that, so that you can actually get accurate testing for that finished product, so you can have accurate labels and such. But this is actually one of the number one things that I think the industry needs to prepare for, because of the significant increase in testing costs.
Big time.
That's going to impose. And again, it's not to say that it should or shouldn't happen. I'm kind of neutral, in my opinion. It's just the fact that this is going to, like Matt said, be the enforcement mechanism to ensure that it does happen. And so, as you guys are budgeting and planning, make sure you're aware that there is going to be a significant increase in testing costs, and to kind of set that aside, so that you guys can cover that and not have kind of such a shock at those incurred costs.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
I've been doing it.
Yeah, and we have known this has been coming for quite a while. There's still quite a few people out there that don't do final product testing. Part of it simply because of the how testing is handled in BioTrack.
Mhm.
Hash holes a lot of times will just have the flour testing on the panel along with the rosin testing, for example. So still a lot of folks out there doing that, but I think this is probably one of the more significant changes and challenges that businesses are going to face, which again is why we're calling for a pause, because people are going to need time to budget for this and to plan for it. And a couple of months should help that. But I know you had a couple of worksheets that you wanted to share with us. You wanna pop those up and walk through those?
Yeah, so I did just want to bring up generally some of the things that I keep seeing, that inspectors keep seeing out in the field still being an issue, or
Oh yeah,
things that are popping up for compliance.
yeah.
So just to name a few and in order. So of course, we all know packaging labeling is top priority for CCD right now. So that is still the number one thing that's being flagged for non-compliance. The second thing is security and surveillance. So this one is kind of, they're minor things. So things like, for limited access areas, having the door propped open, not having proper video footage, or not having the correct length of the video footage. So ensuring that you have the full 30 days of recordings, making sure that the date and time is accurate on your surveillance. These are all small things that, could be easily missed or overlooked in your day-to-day operations. So ensuring that your management team knows that these are things that they periodically need to check. I know in my neighborhood, for instance, we've had quite a bit of power outages over the last few months. So, even just having a power outage at one of your locations, even if power comes back on, oftentimes those surveillance systems will kind of go back to a reset. As far as settings, and they won't incur those 30-day video footage, or the dates might get mixed up, things like that. So one thing, because this is something I see so frequently, I had created this for a few of my clients. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
This is something that I just put together really quickly. This is something you all are more than welcome to take a quick screenshot or take a photo of. But this is something I highly, highly recommend for every single location, whether it's retail, manufacturing, or cultivation. Having your management team do this on a regular basis. And again, this isn't only just for CCD inspections, but also, for risk management, making sure that the locks on the doors, are all working properly, making sure that you don't have no blind spots, those type of things, being able to catch them before the CCD catches them, or, you have an incident where you needed to go back and look at that video footage because, maybe you had some loss, or, you had an employee accident, things like that. So I highly recommend, having something internal where it's a standard that at least one individual is doing internal audits to look at these various items, under the category of surveillance and security. So, maybe you attach it to, your inventory reconciliation. So every time you do inventory, you're also checking these things, or your fire extinguishers, making it so that it's just a regular thing that you do the same time every month or every week, and you have to sign off. So again, later down the road, if an inspector comes and they say, hey, you don't have 30 days worth of video footage, but, Chris at your retail signed off saying that they checked this last week, you can actually have some accountability and say, hey, you signed off here. Did you actually check this, or did we have a power outage? What happened? So again, having things that are written and documented not only goes a long way for CCD compliance, but also just internal accountability and peace of mind for the owners to know that somebody else besides yourself are doing some of these internal checks.
Can you scroll down on that a little bit, Bobbi? I think we're about halfway on that checklist on the screen.
Yeah, it was
There you go. Oh, perfect.
just using the inspector's name signature again, just to ensure we know who's doing these checks.
Perfect. Yeah, and again, I'll reiterate that really having more documentation internally is better than having less. It really covers your ass in case of issues. And as we all saw, the migration to NM Plus, the new licensing system, there was a lot of data that was either lost, damaged, or buried somewhere in the new system with that migration. And the best way to save it, and when I had clients that were caught in that transition, was to have additional documentation. So that's why this is so stinking important to have moving forward, I think. What else you got for us?
And then actually real quick, I'd like to jump right back to packaging labeling because I just looked at my notes and I did want to mention this because this is something that I'm actually seeing. But in that same breath, when it comes to inspections on packaging and labeling, making sure that whether you're a buyer or, approving products, through your own manufacturing site, one thing that CCD has also been looking at is ensuring that if you have edibles, for instance, they're being separated appropriately or scored appropriately so
Yeah.
that they can the individual doses can be taken apart, and then also that each individual gummy or candy or cookie has that THC logo actually stamped on it.
So let me ask you a question on that, Bobby. That really should be the manufacturer's responsibility, not the retailer, because the retailer would have to crack open live packages and take it out of their inventory. So why is that being checked at the retail level and not the manufacturing side of things?
That's a good question, Matt. I think ultimately the way that the rules are written, and again, this is me putting, my regulator hat on, trying to be neutral
Yeah.
in interpreting these rules. Not that I agree or disagree with them, but it is the responsibility of the retailer to evaluate each product that they're bringing in, and that goes as far as inspecting the label, inspecting the package, the child-proof mechanisms, and then also requesting, that the manufacturer provide you with a finished product to inspect. So being able to open that product up and actually inspect what's inside that product should be just as important as getting to taste the product and
Yeah.
and understand its effects or the flavors or what have you. So I do understand kind of the frustration because a lot of this can be caught at the manufacturing level. So I agree with you with that. But at the same time, the way the rule is
Yeah.
written, it does put the onus on retail to ensure that whatever they're putting on their shelves is compliant for sale.
Yeah, and that includes your testing too, retailers. So keep that in mind. Good point brought up here by Travis. What happens if the system breaks down or fails, especially for retailers? Good answer is if you have a third party system, you can definitely use that. But we've seen BioTrack outages where people are just have been using BioTrack for retail transactions too. And if those outages happen, or even on some of the third party providers, they go out frequently. So it goes back to keeping a second set of records and keeping track of things on paper. So if the system goes down, make sure you're just keeping good track of what's happening because you are responsible for that inventory no matter what.
Mhm.
Um, I,
Even as simple as having one of those like old school receipt books where, you guys know what I'm talking about, it has like
yeah,
the pink and yellow, multiple
yeah,
copies.
like the
Just
tear
having
offs.
something, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
the tear off. It doesn't have to be nothing fancy, but at least having something as a backup in case your systems go down to be able to record what you sold, when you sold it, what was the inventory, so that, once it is back up, you can transfer that information into the system. So, anytime you want, and the system's down, just make sure you're documenting that so you have something to go back and update your system
yeah.
on.
Keep good solid records. Will again save your ass on this stuff. we'll be doing it here at the farm. I'm not really sure if we're going to have to change out all of our BioTrack tags or not. I don't know if the same tags will transfer over to the new system. So that's one thing retailers and manufacturers especially will need to keep an eye on, and we'll definitely advise as more info comes out, because if you've got packaging that has the current BioTrack tags on it, keep in mind you may actually end up having to change those tags out for a new system. But that's also a question that has not been answered up to this point. So, what else you got there, Bobby? I think you had
And
another
then,
worksheet.
yeah, lastly, I wanted to do a screen share on, let's see, I think it's a window, on an actual inspection report, which everybody hopefully at this point has seen. And scroll down. I know it's different. The number is different for every activity. Let me just find it. Okay. So this particular inspection report is for retail. So the number itself may be different if you're looking at cultivation or manufacturing inspection report. But I wanted to point out number 25 on this report. So procedures for destruction of tested batch of cannabis products if tested samples from the tested batch indicate noncompliance with applicable health and safety standards, and then it goes on to reference the rules that it's referring to. I wanted to point this one out because this is one that multiple clients at this point have reached out to get updated SOPs from me for. So they're not only just checking to make sure that you have all the required SOPs, but this one specifically, they're wanting to read through the entire SOP and make sure that it has very specific language, especially as it relates to direction or instruction on leaving the inventory in a secured and in a secure area under surveillance for the 72 hours. So really go back, through your SOPs and make sure, that language is included, and, keep in mind that these will most likely need to be updated again, once we know what the final workflows are going to look like for real-time solution system. Of course, it is going to follow the same rules that are currently in place, but when you are writing technical instruction for your team for training, most likely you will need to update this SOP specifically. So this is one thing just to be aware of. Not only have your hard copies of SOPs, but make sure that you are able to have the editable documents, available to you and your team, whoever, is conducting these inspections with the inspector, so that they can go and update these right away if you haven't got a chance to already, so that, they can be updated in real time, verified, printed, and put into your compliance books for the next inspection. But just wanted to hone in and let everybody know this is something, across the board that I'm seeing, that CCD is actually reading SOPs, and they are wanting specific language for some of these. So just be aware of that.
That's a really good heads up, Bobby. And if anyone on the stream does not have the proper language, let me know. I've got plenty of SOP language that we can use here, and it's up to date. So we can definitely do that. This is one of the things that they've been checking on for a while, but they're getting more granular as we move through the inspection process and as the years get a little bit longer, if you will. So make sure that you've got those updated SOPs. If you don't, let me know. I can give you some language. I'm sure Bobby would be more than happy to come in and write SOPs for you too, if you need that. There was a question backing up about packaging, if the ability was there for manufacturers to have CCD approved packaging prior to it being released. And honestly, right now, there is no mechanism in place for that. I know of a couple of companies that they had inspection issues with their packaging, so they actually went to CCD and worked through those with the regulators. So that happened, but on a regular basis, they have no plans to be approving packaging. That is something that we're still trying to work through and get in writing exactly what it is that they're looking for on the packaging as far as the child attractive goes. But we've also got our campaign rolling out to help with that issue. So, what else? What else you wanna add there, Bobbi? Is there anything else that you can kind of bring to the table to help folks prepare for this transition?
Yeah, so real quick, I'm just going to reiterate again, just 1 through 4, the main things that have been reoccurring non-compliance issues being cited. So packaging and labeling, 1, 2, security and surveillance, 3, inventory, and then 4, SOPs. Of course, there's always additional things that CCD may see that may not even be on the checklist when they show up to inspect for. So I always recommend, making sure your team is well-versed, well-trained on compliance. They have read the rules, they know where to find the rules. And then they also have these inspection reports available to them. So when there is downtime, they could read through them and know what to look for, what documents they need to produce, or what things they may need to show during inspection, so that they're not kind of caught off guard when inspectors show up. But as far as, rolling into this new system, I'm going to be right there with you guys. I let all my clients know that during that week, I'm going to make myself available and ready to assist any way I can. But from my understanding, CCD is making themselves available as well. So if you guys have any questions, any issues, integrating your systems or, getting the system to actually work, highly suggest documenting everything, very detailed, putting them into emails, sending it over to CCD compliance, at least so that there is a record, of these issues and that you are actually making the attempt to work through them. That way, it doesn't come back to bite you in the butt when, 3 months down the line, they come asking, how come you didn't do X, Y, and Z, or your inventory is, in such a way that they don't like. You have proof to show that, hey, I was trying to work through this, or, I worked with such and such to actually work through this process or whatever. I think the nitty gritty of this whole conversation is document.
Yeah, that's kind of the bottom line of all of it, I think, is extra documentation. Cover your ass, basically.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
100%.
Bobbi, thank you so much for all of the great information and insights tonight. Is there anything else you want to close tonight's meeting with?
No, I don't think so. If anybody needs any help, working through compliance, licensing, anything like that, please feel free to reach out. Matt has my contact. He'll be happy to connect us, and I would love to work with any of you.
Perfect. Thank you, Bobbi. Bobbi is one of our preferred vendors here at CANM, so if you do want her info, give me a shout, let me know, and I'll connect you with her. We also provide internal resources at CANM to help you out too. So thank you all very much for being on this live stream tonight. Thank you for attending the monthly meeting. I know there's still a ton of missing information, just a ton. I'm hopeful that we'll get more as we're getting close to this rollout. But as you're seeing the rollout, if you have questions, if you have issues, please let me know, and we'll do our best to help you out. Thank you all for being here. Again, Tucumcari is likely the next town hall, and then next month, the 18th, we're going to be up in Farmington. So keep an eye out for a town hall near you if you're not in one of those places. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month.